Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I am your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today we have a special guest, Keshette Burton. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, Keshette Burton. You did good.
Thank you. Thank you. She is an evidential medium and psychic, and she is based in Dallas, Texas. She actually offers readings in person and online, and her website is soulconnections.info. So INF. And I'm gonna have that on at the end of the podcast. I'm gonna have all the live links so you guys can connect with Keshette. So I'm super excited that she's here. So welcome, welcome, Keshette.
Thank you for having me. I feel like we're both in the same mode today where the mind is just a little jumbled. We're a little all over the place. So we're going to be all over the place together today.
So for those of you that are starting to listen, we've had a little bit of our coffee chat just before. So and that's why we're like super excited to be here together. Another thing too that I find super interesting about you, because I was on your Facebook and I noticed that you are a makeup and hair stylist. And I'm going to say your makeup looks fabulous, your hair looks fabulous.
Thank
So
you.
how, because I'm so interested in that, because when you're doing makeup, and I'm just imagining like anybody else, like when you're putting on makeup, the detail that goes into like people's faces and the hair, does
Yes.
that translate over into your mediumship? Like, do you see spirits like face with all that detail, the hair? Because now I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Um, so a little quick background. So I have been a makeup and hair artist for 24 years. I work in production, so in TV. So I've worked with Good Morning America, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight, Shark Tank, 2020, just a variety of shows, as well as I do special events, weddings. So I'm constantly in the personal space of another being, touching, like you said, detail, very meticulous. And the way I see human faces is very different than how they see themselves sometimes. And it's interesting when I'm working with someone, I pick up a lot on what they're personally going through, what they're going through in that moment, and little tidbits of how they're feeling in the moment, because my job is to prepare them for whatever comes next. And sometimes that means changing their outlook on themselves or what's about to transpire. So, you had asked how that translates to my mediumship. There are times when I do feel I can see detailed things in my clairvoyance.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't per se seen a soul um, figure next to the person I'm working with. I get a lot more psychic stuff coming out of the person I'm working with when I'm doing makeup. And I'm glad for that because there's a boundary between myself and spirit, and it doesn't interfere if it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
But yes, in my clairvoyance and mediumship, there's a lot of detail, and I think that is attributed to the makeup history that I have.
You know what? I like that you brought up the word boundaries.
Mhm.
Because the other day I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, when you're going out for coffee with people, aren't you just tuning in psychically into them? Aren't you connecting with their loved ones? And I'm like, no, like ethically is just wrong
Yeah,
unless somebody's giving you the permission or they've asked. But I
yeah,
love that you brought that up. And just for people that are wondering, like, don't be scared to go out for coffee with us.
yeah.
You're not going to tune in psychically because
Right,
it's a boundary. It's not okay.
right,
It's like giving somebody a key to your house, but
right.
and them walking in, but you didn't give 'em permission to walk in.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
and it's so funny because when I have these conversations with people, when I say I'm a makeup artist and then it comes up that I'm also a medium, sometimes they get excited because they correlate it with a variety of TV shows that are out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will say, "Oh, is someone here for me?" And I'll say, I don't work like that. You may not be ready. This isn't the right setting. I'm so glad that there are boundaries because it's a very vulnerable, intimate moment that you share with that person. And I can't imagine pumping my gas and having someone's grandfather step forward, and me walking up to someone when who knows what's going on in their life, and just word vomiting that I have your loved one here, but da 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 da. I
Yeah.
mean, if someone did that to me, I would freak out. I would freak out. I'd
Yeah.
be like, who are you and why are you in my space?
Yeah.
So I feel wholeheartedly that boundaries are so important. Same.
I agree. I've had that done and I don't like it. And for people that are, and this is just my 2 cents, for people that are aspiring to be mediums or being psychics, don't go up to people and just like connect with them without their permission because you're trying to impress them or trying to
Right.
get clients. Because I've had people do that to me and it's a cringe moment because
Right.
everybody's listening. I've had it in crowds and
Yeah.
they'll start saying stuff about my personal life. I just want to die. I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody give
Yeah.
me a blanket, hide me. Why won't they stop?
Yeah. I'm not here. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not here. Stop. We're here for something else. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
So if you learn nothing else from the 2 of us today, I hope you learn boundaries, ethics.
Yes.
Don't do it. It's not okay.
Not
It's
okay. And if it's meant to be that you are meant to give that person a message, whatever that message is, spirit will move that person in your direction at another day, at another time, when when the timing is right and it's a safe
yeah.
place. So absolutely, don't just go up
I
to
like
people.
I like how you said when the timing's right and when it's in a safe space, which is
Mhm.
not in a crowd, just so
Right.
people know that.
Right. Yeah, not in a crowd. Yeah, not when you're eating your pasta and drinking your wine in a full restaurant. Absolutely. No, absolutely not.
Not in a crowd. So I am curious, for your mediumship, how did it show up for you? Like, was it were you a child when you developed your mediumship or became aware of spirit? Like, share with us how that came up for you.
So it did not come up for me in that way as a child, and I'm glad it didn't, because I don't know. Well, I know that I would not have been able to handle it well because I was going through my own personal issues as a child. And I know that I wouldn't have had the support I needed to understand and recognize the love that spirit can come with, and again with those boundaries, or how to connect with it. So no, how it did come up was when I finally stepped into my psychic abilities. I call it on steroids, because I feel like we all have that strong intuition, and we all can know things about each other. When you think about your best friend, or when you become really close with someone and you're driving and you think of them and you're like, oh, I should call so and so, they popped in my head, and they go, oh, I was thinking of you too. That to me is part of being psychic, you
Yeah.
know? And so some of us take it that step further and go, oh, there's something here that keeps coming up, or I keep having premonitions in my dreams, or I knew A, B, C, and D, and it came out 2 months later, A, B, C, and D, you were right, And so when I took it upon myself to look for and take classes from some very good tutors, I was developing my psychic abilities. And in my sitting in the power and in prayer time, I said to God, I don't know if I'm a medium, but if I am meant to be the medium, if that is the space I am meant to hold for healing and for being the translator, then I will be ready when you're ready. And I was in a practice session with another student in another country, and I was ready to do psychic. And all of a sudden, I feel this really, what one can describe as warm, gentle, someone walking over to me and saying, hello, I'm here. And I went, oh, this is not psychic. This is a grandma. This is someone's grandma. And I said to the person I was practicing with, I said, I think I have your grandmother here. I think I'm about to do mediumship reading. And she said, oh, my grandmother loves to help. Do it. Go. Yes. And I felt, going back to being in a safe space, I felt so well received. I felt like it was a safe space. And I felt like my psychic training was strong enough that I was able to use it in that first a mediumship encounter. So that's how I discovered that I had the ability as a medium.
Oh, cool. That is
Hmm.
awesome. So, how old were you when that happened? Now I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it was 4 years ago. So I was 38, 38.
Oh, wow. So
Mhm.
before then, you've never had or sensed spirit around you?
I've sensed spirit from loved ones who
Yeah.
have passed. I have the gift of smell. So my loved ones will come visit me. I will feel them, and each one of them has a distinct smell. So
Yeah.
before I developed my mediumship ability, I could sense spirit, and not just my loved ones. I did have this ability to sense not being alone and not being scared and feeling protected and feeling loved, not knowing what or who or having any kind of explanation behind it, but just the sense of something, something that was positive and loving and okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So has your mediumship abilities changed over the last couple of years, few years? Yes.
Drastically. I mean, my mediumship abilities are changing every day, also because I want them to. I'm
Yeah.
going back to being a makeup artist. I am meticulous, and I feel responsible for how one sees themselves and how one wants to convey how they look and what they're feeling. And so with that comes great responsibility, um, and it translates into my mediumship as well. And we most of us are our hardest critics and our worst critics.
True.
And so because of that, because of the great responsibility I feel to others in person and to spirit, um my mediumship ability is changing every day, and I work really hard at it because
Yeah.
it is fun, but um I want to make sure that what I'm doing is ethical, it has integrity, it has honesty, and it comes with a loving care package. I care for who I'm sitting with, I care for who I'm sitting with, and so it's absolutely changed drastically all the time.
I find it interesting. I know for myself, because in the beginning I was extremely clairvoyant, so I would see spirit like I see you.
Mm,
Me out a little bit.
yeah,
Let's be honest, it would freak me out a lot.
yeah,
And
yeah,
my environment would completely change when I'd
mhm,
be doing a reading. All of a sudden, I'm not in my office, we're in the forest, we're in your kitchen, we're somewhere, everything has changed. So that used to terrify me, and I always had to check in with myself and just
yeah,
remind myself, this isn't real. I'm not going crazy. I'm
yeah.
just reading because it does for myself in the beginning. It was
It,
hard. It was
yeah,
just hard.
and it does transport you. Because what
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm hearing you saying is how you see and experience things were so different. It was so drastically transformative that you were a little unsure and uneasy because it was such a transformative experience.
Yeah, I don't get it that intense anymore. I've had psychic readings. Here's an interesting story that I completely forgot about, but I'm going to share.
Yeah,
I was at Costco grocery shopping, and I don't know what happened. I was just there looking at the grocery or something, deciding what to do. And all of a sudden, for psychic, I was transported because I was going to have a reading later that day, but it was a psychic reading.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, I was in this woman's office. I'm looking around and watching the fight, the anger, the all that fun stuff. So
yeah,
that spooked me. So, and then later, but it helped with the reading. So I
yeah.
am wondering, like, for you, like, can you share with us, do you have stories of your mediumship that you want to share with people?
Sure. I what I can tell you starting off is the first thing I love about my mediumship is when I finish reading someone, I think that they are um, really surprised at the evidence, how clear, how sharp, how unique it is. And at the end, most of them are quite speechless only because they've received so much, they don't know how to take it all in. And from what I've heard from feedback, is it takes them a couple of weeks because it has brought them a mind shift, a shift in what they thought the reality was, as well as a healing that starts because of um, more understanding into situations. I had a client who lost her mom at like 9 years old, and she, at the very end, asked me a question. And her mom said, or she said, I said, "Do you have any questions?" And she said, "Yeah, since my mom passed away from cancer, why didn't she get treatment, knowing that she had a 9-year-old daughter?" And I went, "That is a fantastic question." And mind you, her mom, who stepped forward, didn't bring any evidence of having cancer, didn't talk
Yeah.
about that battle or anything. What her mom focused on was mental health. The whole reading was about lack of mental health, not getting help, never going to the doctor, situations that her daughter had witnessed and her being hot and cold, pushing away the father. The brother who is still living has some bipolar issues, doesn't take the medicine. All of that evidence was coming forward. And so it set the tone for the answer. And
Yeah.
the answer was, I was so mentally unwell, I never took the time to take care of myself, and it wasn't in my nature to ask for help. So I couldn't even think about taking care of my 9-year-old daughter when I wasn't even taking care of myself. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was just trying to survive the day to day.
Yeah.
And the other thing what came up psychically, because a lot of times when I'm doing a mediumship reading, there is what I would call basket weaving, where a loved one will step forward, they'll provide evidence, and I really think I just saw an orb on the computer.
Not a fly. Okay, it's an orb.
No. Um, but okay, spirit. Um, when Oh yeah, so it's basket weaving. So a lot of times a loved one will step forward, I'll provide mediumship evidence, and then the loved one will step away and allows me to do a deep dive into my sitter's soul, the psychic reading. And what had come up for my sitter was, um, I know that you wish that your mom was here to be the grandmother that you want her to be.
Yeah.
And then mom stepped forward, and mom, had expressed and gave me the impression that you wouldn't be as amazing of a mom you are today and as strong of a woman and healed woman if I was still in your life.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was both heartbreaking and healing because we often coulda, shoulda, woulda. I
Yeah.
wish something would have been a certain way. And for this young lady sitting with me, it was this realization that she would have had to mom her mom if her mom was still living, and she would have had to deal with the mental health issue and who knows what kind of trauma. And it was such a beautiful gift her mom could give her, which was, I know you've done therapy. I know you've broken the cycle, and I'm so proud of the mom that you are. And it was transformative for her. So that's a story that I really love because it was hand in hand, second by second, seeing the transformation and the heaviness that had lifted from the person sitting in front of me.
Yeah, I think, well, I feel like readings help you heal
Yeah.
and you hear what you need to hear from your loved ones or in psychic, which I'm going to be honest, I still go for readings.
Yeah.
I love getting
Yeah.
readings.
Yeah.
And I had someone ask, he's like, why are you booking a reading? I want to receive a reading too. I have loved
Yeah,
ones in spirit. Yes, I can connect with them, but I think it's just
same.
so cool to watch somebody else connect with them and to bring
Yeah.
in maybe memories that I've completely forgotten
Oh,
about or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah,
But yeah, so mediums get readings
yeah.
too.
Well, it's
I do
like
all the time.
giving yourself a massage isn't the same as receiving a massage.
Yeah.
It's just not. And although you can give yourself a massage and you can self-soothe a little bit, it's a completely different experience when someone else is doing the work with you and for you.
Yeah.
And you're right, you do get those aha moments so many times. So, oh, I totally agree with you.
And then each reading, just for people, because she shared this reading, each reading is completely different for each person, each life circumstance.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it. So it's not a one answer fits all. It's we follow spirit and the information comes through their loved ones. So I just want
Yes.
that disclaimer out there. Uh, and then with I am curious. So how does your family react to you being a medium?
Well, that's a great question. My husband is super supportive. He is my probably most important person that I would have really well, hold on. I want to kind of retract that a little bit. Stepping into my mediumship abilities was something I have felt a calling to since I was little, in the sense that I've always known that there was something more for my soul to experience. And my husband grew up Christian Baptist. And so he did not grow up with the belief of, Reiki or metaphysical things or stones or chakras or anything like that. He grew up with the Bible telling you, no necromancing, no psychic things, no everything bad, bad, bad. But my husband had been witness to me sharing things over the many years of, I know something's off about this person, or I had a dream about this, and then it comes true, or just a lot of things in action that when I did step into my medium ability, I just saw another orb. This is amazing.
Can't see them.
I feel like spirit's giving us little kisses. And that's not something I see often. So, um, but when I stepped into my ability, he was so supportive when I came out to him. He was so supportive. And honestly, that was the one person I was the most worried about.
Yeah.
And um, it was really, it's still amazing to receive his support. And he asked me questions and he gets into it a little bit. And that's really awesome. My dad doesn't quite understand it. He's not opposed to it. He's kind of in limbo with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's been received well,
Very
which
good.
is so nice. Yes, it's so nice because then you don't feel like you have to battle another battle or or over explain yourself. So, overall it's been pretty well received.
I think that's really cool. Like I come from a strict Catholic background, so
Yeah.
it's conversations are interesting in my family.
Yeah.
Extended family is very interesting when we talk spirit. And then the thing I find too, it's language.
Yeah.
It's all language because if you change the words, then people aren't fearful. We're actually all talking about the same thing. We're
Yeah.
just using different words, is what I find when you break it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so with your mediumship abilities, because you mentioned like with the makeup, which I love so much, does that help you connect easier with people? Did you find like being around people, you're just, I would assume you're very empath then, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It blew my mind when I finally said there's something more and I need to figure it out and I need to get training because I don't know what to do with it. Almost like I've gone as far as I could and
Yeah.
there was just this this hurdle of I kind of know what I have, but I'm not really sure what to call it. Is that really what it is? What do I do with it? And how do I responsibly use it? Because again, going back to ethics and integrity, I just it's a big thing for me. It's a responsibility towards others, right? And so yeah, the funny thing is being a makeup artist and being in an intimate, vulnerable space with people really allows the soul to open up. And
Yeah.
it's like that statement that people say, like your hairstylist is your counselor, right? And
Yes.
so because you tell your hairstylist knows all, right? And
Yes.
so I would have these moments with people where we literally had a counseling session together while I'm doing makeup. And at the end they would say, "Oh my gosh, I look amazing, but I feel amazing and I feel like I need to pay you for this session." And I really didn't even think of it as like a therapy session. It was more like whatever was coming up naturally came up and opened up a dialogue that allowed a space for healing and for love to bloom and self-reflection. And so, what's interesting is I think spirit was preparing me for stepping into my ability when things were coming up that I wasn't even looking for.
Yeah.
I am naturally very curious about people. And I am especially curious about people that I have a hard time understanding.
Yeah.
Um, and so I remember working on a gentleman because I do corporate film stuff. And I remember working on a gentleman and I remember he's so, like, gosh, I'm in my mind, you're so regimented, you're so kind of like stoic, a little hardcore. And I'm thinking, why is he this way? What is it about him? Military. And it just like kind of came up, you know? And I brought it up. But not only I think I may have said something like, "Oh, I know, I felt into it more just naturally." Again, before knowing that I had psychic abilities, like, "Oh, was your dad in the military?" I threw it out there. Crazy, right? Like never done
Before you
that.
were trained and knew anything.
Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" I'm like, "I don't know, it's just something about you, that just, you like things very meticulously." Like, I kinda like, stepped over it a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, let me tell you, this man, all of a sudden chatty Cathy. All of a sudden chatty Cathy, never really spoke that much to me. I'd worked with him many times before, but it opened up it was that icebreaker." And
Yeah.
so I have moments like that that do come up where spirit gives me a little nugget of something. So
Oh,
it
I love that.
absolutely prepared me to step into my psychic work and my mediumship work.
I love that you brought that up. So for those of you that are listening, because I am curious for people that may be watching this video or listening to it, have you had moments where spirit, universe, use the word that's comfortable for you, where you've been put in a place, a position, and then all of a sudden someone opens up their heart to you? Like when you were talking about, like, it almost feels like counseling, but I
Yeah.
feel that's so directed by the spirit world. So,
Yeah.
like, they need somebody to listen to them that's non-judgmental in this
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
And because I get that in the grocery stores, like, ever since my kids were this little,
Yeah.
like, there goes mom again. It's like, "Do you know that person, mom?" This when they were
Yeah.
tiny. And I didn't even like, this was before my back injury. I was not because I feel like I became a medium after I had my back injury, because then I could see, hear spirit, but then as I look more into it, I feel like I've always been a medium, but I never realized that.
Yeah.
But I remember when the kids were little, we'd be in the grocery lines and people just share their stories and you would
Yes.
listen. So I am curious, comment below or send us an email.
Yes.
Times has that happened to you? And also remembering to honor that gift of you of being an empath, of holding that safe space for somebody to listen to and knowing you don't have to hang up a shingle. Because I think
Right.
that's where people get scared. It's like, oh, if I develop my mediumship abilities or my psychic abilities, doesn't mean I need to go rent a table at a psychic fair. No,
Yeah.
or do readings. No, it just means you need to honor your soul and
Right.
and you can merge your psychic mediumship with your work. You can open
Yes.
up your intuitive psychic abilities, you can open up your mediumship abilities and
Yes.
still be you. It doesn't mean you shut down, doesn't mean you have to quit your job. Because
Right.
look at her, she's not quitting her job. She's still doing
Right.
makeup and
Yeah,
still
no,
honoring her
absolutely.
gifts. Yes. So I
Yes,
love that you
absolutely.
do that.
Yes, I'm curious too how many people sit in that space because you brought up something that I not how to some people want to open up and want to share, and sometimes as an empath, you can just feel people. And instead of me giving them a space where they may not want to open up and share, I give a compliment like, "Oh, you look so beautiful today," or "I love your smile," or "I just wanted to tell you I love." I don't know, like there's something sometimes when you can feel someone or you know someone's going through something and what they need is a smile, a compliment, and I am seen, that type of thing too. You know, because I think some people are afraid to open up the door for conversation because they don't want to be sitting there for an hour listening to someone's stuff.
Yeah.
When in reality, maybe that someone just needs the coffee or the compliment or acknowledgement. So, but yeah, no, I'm curious about that too. Definitely drop your comments.
Yeah. You just made me cry because that so touched my heart because I know so many times within my own life where I was like in the thick of the storm and
Yeah.
somebody will just say something nice to me. Or here in Canada, we do like sometimes they'll be like, pay it forward. So you go to Tim Hortons, you buy a cup of coffee, the person behind you buys a cup of
Yeah.
coffee, and you
Yeah.
start that line.
Yeah.
And I was actually the first one, I remember this. I was actually the first one in line. I was not having a good day. My dad was not doing well, and I just went to buy a cup of coffee. That's all I wanted that morning. It's like
Yeah.
I had to buy a cup of coffee. My dad had had a massive stroke. He was in the hospital. He wasn't doing well. I'm like, I just want my coffee, and I need to go. And this mom is behind me with her little daughter. She's
Yeah.
so cute. I'll never forget that. And the little girl's like, "Mommy, can we do pay it forward for the lady in
Oh,
front of us?" Which was me. And
yes.
that was like because in my world, it was just like, it was high stress. I didn't know what was going on. Like right now, he's okay. He's like being taken care of in a nursing home.
Good.
But there, we didn't know if he was going to live or die. So
Yeah.
my nerves were shot, and it must have been all over my face. And this little girl, I think it was
Yeah.
like 7 or 8, is like, "Mommy, let's start pay it forward." And the
Yeah.
mom like steps up. She's like, "We're getting your coffee today." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, that's so sweet." So
Yeah.
even us mediums need kindness because that's
Yes.
just spreading kindness.
And I'm glad you were in a place of receiving because
Yes.
so often those of us that love to give to others are not always accepting of the return blessing. And that little girl could feel you, especially as children, we were all so much more aware and more sensitive as children. And so she must have known that you needed that little hug that day with that coffee. And I'm so glad you were in a place to receive
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I had like a cry moment. I was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so precious."
Yes. Yes.
'Cause it was. And then I'm gonna assume that line probably went on for, as long as people were in line behind her, because then the line started building, then people just start do they do that there, like where you
Yeah.
live? They do
They
that?
do. They do. And I'm gonna be honest with you. There's time there. I think one time I paid it forward and it was like 4 coffees, 2 sandwiches, and a something something, and I was like, "You know what? I also need to be in a place of receiving and not feeling pressured because I do pay it forward in other ways, but when I feel inclined to, I will go ahead and, purchase the one behind." But yeah, it usually happens at like the Starbucks, but we also have like a Scooters, a Dutch Brothers, but yes, it does happen. There is a pay it forward in that way. Mhm.
That is so cool. So, the goal of our conversation is be kind.
Be kind
Be kind.
and
Smile. You
receive.
never know, right? And
Yeah,
and receive. I like that because let's talk about and receive because you brought that up and it's so important because so many times we don't.
yeah,
We think like we need to suck it up, tough it up, and like, oh, it's okay, I got it. Meanwhile, we're breaking inside and it's like,
yeah,
be okay to receiving.
Yeah, be okay to receiving. And I mostly deal with women. I do work on men, but the majority of my clientele is women. And it's just so heartbreaking to constantly hear, um, I don't know how to take a compliment. When someone tells me something nice, I feel weird about it. And I they deflect it, and they'll say something, for example, "Oh, I love your hair." And you might say, "Oh my gosh, it looks awful today."
Yeah.
Instead of, "Well, thank you so much. It's a wash and go." There's a deflection there. And so I myself have deflected many times over the years. And over the past few years, I've been in a space of, you know what? I know, universe, that I am taking away from someone else's wanting to bless
Mm.
others or bless me when I reject that blessing. And I have been practicing saying thank you, practicing not making it so awkward, practicing receiving. And it feels nice. It feels nice.
I like the way you said bless others or bless me, like the
Mm.
blessings.
Yeah.
And I do think, and I love that we're talking about this because as we develop as mediums, as we develop our psychic, our intuition abilities, we also have to do the inner work,
Yes.
be able to help other people. We can't be like, oh, I woke up, I'm perfect today, because I ain't perfect. I have
Right.
a lot of stuff I have to deal with, and I have to, and the self love. I love that you brought that up because we do deflect.
Yes, we deflect so often. I actually have had to practice this with my husband. I love to give, 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 and there's so many moments where he's want to give and do for me, and I've pushed it away, and I realize that I'm taking away from his blessing to bless me, to love me, to do that kind of thing. And that was an aha moment. And you are 100% right. So that led to a deeper inner reflection of, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Right? And as a medium, as a psychic, as a healer, no matter what kind of healer you are or what you do for others, it is so important to fill that love cup and to take that time. It's not selfish, it's self-loving, whatever that may be, that fills up your love cup for yourself.
Oh, I like that. The love cup.
Mhm.
I like that because you can't give from an empty cup.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
also remembering as we do this work, we're holding space for people. So
Yes.
we need to be at our best when we hold space
Yeah.
to provide the best services, to be in service
Yes.
at the top, right? For us, for our clients. Because if we're not feeling good, we're probably gonna give a shitty reading, let's be honest. Like, we need to
Right.
feel good
Yeah.
to be of service to others. And that's just like for anywhere. If you don't feel good, you're gonna go to work, you're kind of gonna be like, ugh, I'm like 50-50 today because I don't feel good.
Right.
So
Right.
remembering, yes, just like you said. And I love that you said this, the self-love cup. I want one.
Yeah. Yes, it's a self-love
Very
cup.
perfect.
Constantly drinking out of it, and you have to refill it. You
Yeah.
have to refill it, because the next time you take a sip, you don't want it to be empty. And if you try to share with someone and there's nothing in it, you are constantly depleting yourself. You have nothing to give, you
Yeah.
know? And so you have to refill your love tank, your love cup, whatever that thing may be that you hold space for yourself in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially doing this work and being of service. Like we have to take care of us, kind of like being on that airplane and putting the mask on you first so you could take care
Yeah.
of
Yes.
your children, right? Because if
Yeah.
if you're passed out, you can't help them.
Right. Perfect example. Exactly. Yeah.
So I've loved talking to you. Uh, I do want to know what would you recommend for people that are new to this journey? Like, what words of advice would you have for those new to this and they want to explore it?
The advice I would have is, everything happens in the time it's supposed to. And, I wanted to step into this space a long time ago. And I came to a point where I had a realization that I wasn't ready, and not to force it, but also not to be afraid of it. Walk in faith and not in fear of what's to come, to step into that new chapter. I think that tarot is fine, pendulum is fine, symbolism can be fine, whatever the chakras and crystals are fine, but there's something deeper and there's something more that comes after that and with that. And I think that if you're interested in this kind of work, don't be afraid of the challenge. Don't be comfortable with the comfortable. You have to push and challenge yourself so that you have the better understanding, the best understanding of what it is your healing ability it is, of what capacity you're able to work at, hold, and also taking that time to do that self-reflection that you mentioned before, because so often when we're working with others, things come up for ourselves. And it's good to take a moment to take a step away again, to fill that cup up, to understand that way you can step back into the growing, the learning, the challenging. So I think the other thing is I have stuck with the same tutors, but I feel blessed to have found what is the right fit for me. But that doesn't mean I haven't taken other opportunities to learn from other people or watch other people. So I think it's really important, with my makeup stuff and other things I do in beauty, I spend thousands of dollars on continuing education and classes and keeping up to date with things and learning new techniques. And there, you don't have to spend thousands. There's YouTube, there's things out there. But when I have had the money to take it a step further for that hands-on training from more experienced people, I'll do it. And it's the same with psychic and mediumship and healing, is that it's so important to continuously seek out education from different sources so that you can find what fits you and you don't get stuck in one little mold.
Yeah, that's so true. I find for myself, I have a different tutor each year, but
Yeah,
that works for me because
yeah,
I don't know, everybody's got the most incredible story, unique
yeah,
story,
yeah,
and I want to hear it. So I'm
yeah,
like, I'm over here. I want to hear your story, your experiences. Then I'm over here. And then I meet incredible and amazing students from around the world. Like we met in a class too, and I love that too. So I get to meet all these amazing people from
yeah.
everywhere. So I
Mhm.
am that person that goes tutor to tutor to tutor. And I
Yeah.
always admire those that can stay with the same tutor for years and years. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't think I'm wired that way, and that's
Right.
okay. Because
Yeah.
you take what fits, leave what doesn't. I think
Right.
too, it's important to give people permission, this just came to me, to be yourself, and you've said that, like, honoring yourself, honoring what feels right, what doesn't. If you need
Yes.
to take a break from studying, take
Right.
a break.
And don't compare yourself to others because
Yeah,
we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, our progress or how we work or what tools are being used, or there's a big space out there for what seems to be what is the norm
yeah.
of things people use or how people work, and there's a lot of judgment like in anything else, and it's so important to step into that space of be you and
Yeah.
follow your heart and follow your soul, and don't be afraid of stepping out of the pack and doing things differently.
Oh, I love that, words to live by.
Yeah.
So so if people want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? How can they find you?
So my website is soulconnections.info. INFO, soulconnections.info. And all the information is on there, how long a session, email me, call me. I can do in person or I can do over Zoom. I have done over the phone, but I like that personal connection, when you see
Yeah.
somebody. So soulconnections.info.
And then you're also on Facebook too, right? If people
I
want to reach
am on
out to you?
Facebook as well, yes. I believe it's the same link, and there's a link on my website that can take you to Facebook.
Yes, there is, because I clicked on it, so your link works. So
Yeah.
yes. Go to her
Good.
website, click on her Facebook link at the bottom of her website, and it will bring you directly to her so you can follow her on social media, find out what she's up to, which I think
Yeah.
is fantastic too. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. And if you guys want to reach out to her, again, I'm going to have those links, her Facebook and her website at the bottom of this YouTube video and also on the podcast. So thank you everybody for listening. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.